नन्दन व्रजजान रञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारि यमुनातीरवनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय भूपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय भूपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदा नन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारि यमुनातीरवनचारि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव हरे जय राधा रासबिहारी राधा रासबिहारी राधे जय गौरांगी बंजोरीश्वर गौरांगी बंजोरीश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शना जय लक्ष्मी नारायण जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नृसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल जय हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरि नाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय Iskcon founder Acharya, BBD founder Acharya, Savior of the whole universe, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ छठ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, द्वारिका धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, कावेरी माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतेन्द्रियं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुनिरन्तारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So we'll continue our conversation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1. And the chapter is titled as Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. And we will start with text number 12. Allow me to share my screen share. Yes. So we'll start with 12. We will be covering 12, 13, and 14. So they have very small purports, but there's a lot of meaning, so we'll discuss into it. Ye kardama suta prokta nava brahmasi patnaya tasam pasunti pravasavam progyamam nibaddhame ye kardama suta proktya nava brahmasi patnaya tasyam pasuti prasavam prochyanam nibaddhame. ये कर्दम सूत प्रोक्त्या नव ब्रह्मसि पत्नया दासं प्रसूति प्रासवाम प्रोक्षामाम निबोध्यमि. Word to word translation. Ye, those who, Kardama Suta, the daughters of Kardama, Prokta were mentioned, Nava 9, Brahma Rishi, great sages of spiritual knowledge, Patnaya, wives, Tasam, there, Prasuti, Prasavam, Prasuti Pravas, Prasavam, generations of son and grandsons. Prochiyamamam, describing. Nibada, try to understand. Me, from me, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. You have already been informed about the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni who were handed over to 9 different sages. I shall now describe the descendants of those 9 daughters. Please hear from me. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Purport. The third canto has already described how Kardama Muni begot 9 daughters in Devahuti and how all the daughters were later handed over to great sages like Marichi, Atri, and Vashishta. We will also cover the 13th, 14th, both the shlokas. Patni Marichas Trukala Susuve Kardamat Maja Kashyapam Purnimanam Cha Yayur Apurtam Jagat. Word translation. Patni, wife, Maricha, of sage named Marichi. 2. Also, Kala, named Kala. Susuve, gave birth. Kardama Atmaja, daughter of Kardama Muni. Kashyapam, of the name Kashyapa. Purnimam Namcha, and the name of Purnina. Yayo, by whom? Apuritam, spread all over. Jagat, the world. Translation. Kardama Muni's daughter Kala, who was married to Marichi, gave birth to 2 children whose names were Kashyapa and Purnima. Their descendants are spread all over the world. There is no purport to this shloka, so we'll continue with the 14th one. Purnima Suta Virajam Viswagam cha parantapa Devakulyam Hare Pada Sauchat Yadbut Sariddiva. Word to word translation. Purnima. Asuta, begot. Virajam, a son named Viraja. Viswagam cha, and named Viswaga. Param Tapa, O annihilator of enemies. Devakulyam, a daughter named Devakulya. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pada Sauchata, by the water which washed his lotus feet. Ya, she. Abhubhut, became. Sariddiva, the transcendental water within the banks of Ganges. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear Vidura, of the two sons, Kashyapa and Purnima, Purnima begot three children, namely Viraja, Vishwaga, and Devakulya. Of these three, Devakulya was the water which washed the lotus feet of personality of Godhead and which later on transformed into Ganges of the heavenly planet. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Of the two sons, Kashyapa and Purnima, herein Purnima's descendants are described. An elaborate description of this descendants will be given in the 6th canto. It is also understood herein that Devakulya is the presiding deity of the river Ganges, which comes down from the heavenly planets to this planet and is accepted to be sanctified because it touched the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Om Tat Sat. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the chapter that we are discussing today is the first chapter. It's called the Genealogical Table of Daughters of Manu, and we completed text 12, 13, and 14. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamanyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Patakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. यह कर्दमसुता प्रोक्ता नवभ्रमरसि पत्न्या था संप्रसूति प्रसवाम Tochimamam Nibaddhami. You've already been informed about the 9 daughters of Kardam Muni who were handed over to 9 different sages. I shall now describe the descendants of those 9 daughters. Please hear from me. Hare Krishna. So we continue our conversation from the 4th canto. We completed the 3rd canto here. There is a reference which is given to the 3rd canto. It says in 3rd canto, we've already described how Kardam Muni begot 9 daughters in Devahuti, and how all the daughters were later handed over to Marichi, Atri, Vasishtha, the great sages. Now, here if we see the descendants of Kardam Muni or descendants of Manu are described here at length, and Kardam Muni and his children become, because Devahuti is the daughter of Manu, she becomes the one of the lineage or the descendants of Manu Maharaj. So there are great devotees in that dynasty. So we start talking about Maharaj Priyavarta. Yeah, there's one nice pastime where Maharaj Priyavarta goes to the sea to take bath. And while he's taking the bath, he's carried his kamandalu along with him. And while he's taking the bath, there's a small fish which comes out of the kamandalu. Maharaj Priyavarta wants to push it back into the sea, but it doesn't go. Again, it comes back into the kamandalu. Again, he tries to put it back into the sea. It comes back into the kamandalu. Again, he tries to put back into the sea. It comes back into the kamandalu. So Maharaj Priyavarta is really wonderstruck as to why this is happening and why is this small fish coming into the kamandalu and staying. And then to the surprise of Maharaj Priyavarta, the small fish starts talking to him. Yeah, we've not seen any fish talking, but here this is a very special fish. As we go forward, we will understand about it. The fish that starts talking to Maharaj Priyavarta and tells him that, please don't put me back into the sea because the big fish will come and eat me. So please take me along with you and keep me in your kingdom. Maharaj Priyavarta finds this very, very strange, but nevertheless, because the fish was talking, he takes the fish along with him to his kingdom. And then he gives a small place to stay because it's a small fish. He gives a small place for the fish to stay. And then in the night, Maharaj Priyavarta gets a dream that please give me a bigger place to stay. And then it says, give me a bigger place to stay. Then it says again, give me a bigger place. So this is over a period of time. This fish is asking for bigger place to stay. And then, the fish becomes very, very big. And then he decides that it is better to leave the fish in the sea. And then again, this fish speaks to Maharaj Priyavarta saying that tomorrow the whole world will be flooded, it will be inundated. Yeah, so what you'll have to do is you'll have to, keep all the rishis and, yourself into one of the boats. And then I will come and protect you. Yeah, somebody will be surprised saying that how can, a fish talk to Maharaj Priyavarta? But it's a fact. And if we say in those days, the kings were not just the Rajas, they were Raja Rishis. They could talk to the demigods, they could talk to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Likewise here, Maharaj Priyavarta is talking actually to Matsya Avatar. And the Lord himself is giving him instruction as to what he needs to do. So he keeps all of them, all the rishis and all the important people in one boat. And then, the Supreme Personality of Godhead saves them all. So this is about Maharaj Priyavarta, how great he is. Then if we look at the other descendant is Uttanapada. Maharaj Uttanapada, the great devotee, he was ruling the surface of the earth. And then he marries Suruchi and Suniti. Yeah. And on Suruchi, he begets a son called Uttama. And in Suniti, he begets a son called Dhruva. We've all heard of Dhruva Maharaj. And Suruchi's son is Uttama. One day, Suruchi is sitting in the palace of King Uttanapada, and King Uttanapada is sitting there on the throne, and Uttama comes and sits on the lap of Maharaj Uttanapada. Likewise, this younger child, Dhruva, also comes in and he sees Uttama sitting on lap, so he goes and sits on another lap. And there are Kshatriyas, so Kshatriyas always have this habit of challenging. So Uttama actually pushes Dhruva down from the lap and he starts crying. So Suruchi calls him and tells him, saying that if you want to sit on the lap of your father, you should take birth from my womb. Just because you've taken a birth from Suniti's womb, despite Suniti being the elder one, yeah, if you have to become the king or if you have to sit on the king's lap, you should take birth from my womb. And then Dhruv Maharaj feels very bad. He feels very sad, saying that he was pushed down from the lap of his father. He was deprived of the love that the father should be given. And Maharaj Uttanpad could not speak anything because he was under the control of Suruchi. He had to just keep quiet. And being a Kshatriya, it's always like this, Kshatriyas always feel that I should challenge. I should take revenge. I cannot just accept this. He goes to his mother and keeps crying. And Suniti, being a great devotee of the Lord, tells him, why are you looking at a small place? You should actually be sitting on the lap of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why are you looking at a small achievement in your life? And this actually hits very hard to Maharaj, or rather, that time, Dhruva, Prince Dhruva. And he's inquiring from his mother, how do I see the Lord? Where does the Lord stay? So mother tells him, if you go to the forest and do penance, you can get the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you can actually please him and sit on his lap. Kshatriya is always challengeful, always wanting to take a bigger challenge. And he says, no, I have to go and see Lord Vishnu. We can't really take this for chance. So Dhruv Maharaj sets out to the forest and there he meets Narad Muni, the great devotee of the Lord. Narad Muni tries to persuade him, saying that you are a small by 5-6 years. Go back home. It's not possible for you to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can't do penance. You can't do the austerity. But as I said, Kshatriya is always very willful and they would always want to prove themselves right. So he says, no, that's not possible. I have to see the Lord. I have to sit on his lap. How you going to tell me where do I meet the Lord? Or I'll find my way. You don't have to worry about me. Narada, looking at the determination of that little boy, guides him, takes him under his shelter. So that's how Dhruv Maharaj becomes the disciple of Narad Muni, or Narad Muni becomes the guru of Dhruv Maharaj. He guides him as to what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. For 6 months, this little boy, Dhruva, goes on meditating. 1 month without water, 1 month without food, 1 month without air. He actually literally stops eating, drinking, even breathing. And then the Lord appears to him. And he said, ask me what you want to do. So Dhruv Maharaj makes the statement saying that I was actually looking at the pieces of glass, but I got diamond. I don't want anything. When we get something very, very higher, we don't look at the lower things at all. For example, though it is not a very apt answer, but still, just to compare, when we are from a very mediocre family, where you can barely afford a two-wheeler, and if you suddenly get a very high-end car for your use, you feel, oh, God, you've been so merciful. And when you get a car, you don't think of the two-wheeler. Yeah. So here Maharaj Dhruva is comparing that, as I rightly said, as I earlier said, that's not the apt example. But still, we can just take a corollary with that, saying that when we get a higher thing, we don't look at small things. So Dhruva Maharaj makes the statement saying that I was looking at a piece of broken glasses. And oh my Lord, you've given me diamond. What do I want beyond this? No. Says, I don't want anything. But then still, the Lord gives him whatever he had actually desired. So he says you can rule for about 36,000 years. And Dhruvaloka, which is the planet which is bigger, this Dhruvaloka is actually spent longer than Brahma's planet also. It's an eternal loka. And he gives us blessings saying that, you can rule this for 36,000 years. And it is even longer than Brahma's planet. Then after getting these blessings, he comes back to his kingdom of Uttanapada. There, his brother, Uttam, is killed by the Yakshas. And then he's again a Kshatriya, so he feels very sad, saying that, how can the Yakshas kill my brother? And he goes and fights with the Yakshas. And he actually literally starts killing everybody. But then Lord Brahma comes there and tells him that, your brother was killed by one of the Yakshas. Why are you killing the whole, dynasty of the Yakshas? So here in this place, it is very clearly said, Mother Suruchi, Uttama, all of them actually offended the Vaishnava. Dhruva Maharaj, though being a small boy, but he was a great devotee of the Lord. So if we do a Vaishnava aparadh, it is the worst thing. So God is actually giving us this lesson here, saying that, you should not offend any Vaishnava. And it is also saying that we will be happy if we are not kapti. Kapti is self-centered. Yeah. Then we go back to the other story of Karda Muni being married to Devahuti mother. But here, as we've seen in the previous canto, Karda Muni is always busy with his meditation. He's least interested in what is happening around. He's more bothered about, I wouldn't say bothered, he's focusing himself on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's always busy with penance, meditation. And Mother Devahuti is quietly serving him all these years, coming from the king's, being a king's daughter, having so many, dasis to serve her. But she is menially serving Karda Muni here in the state where, things are not really good. There is no palace there. There's no great facility available there. But still, she takes care of the ashram, prepares for the yoga, the yagyas and all of that, and helps her husband Karda Muni to perform the bhakti. And when Karda Muni comes out of his trance, he's asking Devahuti, what does she want? And Devahuti is saying that, the whole center point of a family life is to have children, and she wanted a son. So understanding the demand of the Grahastha ashram, Karda Muni actually creates a beautiful flying city. Today's our jumbo jets are nothing. This flying city had everything within it, and it would fly from one place to another place. Yeah. Like how we see that our aeroplanes need some fuel, this does not need any fuel. It just flies by the wish of Karda Muni, and it can take them anywhere. So Karda Muni actually gives a flying city, and they carry on with their family life, and they beget 9 daughters. And these are the 9 daughters who are actually described. And then that is the finalist, the son. The son is Kapila Muni, and just before that, Devahuti is reminded, saying that once you get a son, I will leave the household life and I will retire, is what Karda Muni tells Mother Devahuti. And that's been the state of acceptance in those days. These days, it may be very difficult for a householder to leave the family and go away to the forest and meditate. For this, Srila Prabhupada has created this movement where one need not leave their house and go to the forest and meditate. They can continue to be at home, continue to be with his wife, and both of them actually get involved into the service of the Lord. Both of them actually involved into the preaching mission. Both of them involved in bhakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's the way that it has been created. Then you also see the about Daksha Prajapati. He gets married to Manu Maharaj's daughter, the other daughter, and she gives birth to 10,000 children. And Daksh Prajapati, because he's a Prajapati, he sends his children for education, Brahminical education. And they meet Narad Muni and he turns them into brahmacharis. When they say that, we are all likely to get into Grihastha ashram, he actually gives them the gyan, the actual gyan, and all of them become brahmacharis. So Daksha says, it's okay, no problem. We'll have few more children. All of this have become brahmacharis. So he has another 10,000 children which come. There also Narad Muni turns them into brahmacharis. And here Daksha gets really unhappy and very angry. And he curses him, saying that you will never stay at one place. You will always be roaming. You will not have a permanent place of residence. And Narad Muni actually takes this as a blessing to him. He doesn't get worried about the so-called curse by Daksha Prajapati, and he accepts that as a blessing. And that's how he's become a Parivrajaka, always going around and preaching the holy name of the Lord, talking about the Lord, glorifying the Lord. So that's his Parivrajaka. And that's why Srila Prabhupada is called Parivrajaka. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj is also called Parivrajaka, because they were preaching always. Then Daksha Prajapati gives birth to 60 daughters. And as you know, Narad Muni is a brahmachari, so brahmacharis don't go towards or don't go near the ladies. So he's very sure that, he will not come and preach them. And out of this 60 daughters, one is married to Lord Shiva. And Daksha Prajapati, being a great Vaishnava, also insults the Lord Shiva, and Sati commits suicide. Again, here you see Daksha insulted Lord Shiva, who's a Vaishnava Ramadashambhu. So again, a Vaishnava aparadh. Despite being a Prajapati, he's Prajapati, he's a great exalted person. But still, he's committing an aparadh. So mind you, Vaishnava aparadh will not spare anybody if we are not very careful. One needs to be very, very careful, even talking about a devotee's dressing, talking about a devotee's material qualification, talking about devotee's the material educational qualification can lead to Vaishnava aparadh. So it is very important that whenever we meet devotees, or even if while we are not meeting and we are thinking about them, we should always glorify the devotee. Look at the positive side of it rather than looking at anything negative in a devotee. Well, the devotees have a lot of good qualities. It's just that we have to identify. We've all seen a swan. I was just giving this example 3-4 days back. The swan actually stays in a place which is not so great, but only picks up very, very nice things. Likewise, we as devotees should pick up only good qualities from the devotees. We are all in the material world and we are all contaminated. So all of us may have some of the other qualities. Likewise, the other devotees will also have some other qualities, but we should never, speak ill about any of the qualities of the devotees, whether it is something concerned with their nature, something concerned with their physical appearance, something concerned with their material, belongingness, or anything that is related to the devotee. We should never, never, never criticize a devotee. That becomes a Vaishnava aparadh. And here we have seen 2 examples. One is of Uttama and his mother. And the second example here is of Daksha Prajapati. When we come into Vaishnava aparadh, everything is finished. That's the worst thing that can happen. And then Daksha Prajapati is born as a goat, and in this verse it is explained that the 9 daughters of Karda Muni were born, and the details are given more in Canto 3, which we already completed. And here we are talking about how this daughters of Karda Muni are married to Maharishis. They're not rishis, no? They are Maharishis. Maharshis, we call them. Vashishta, Parashar. Then we also have Parashar's son Raja Santanu. And then we have Ganga. Then we have Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, and Pandu. So on and so forth. They all come in the lineage of this. And here we can even talk about the pastime where Raja Santanu, who was there, and he had the son Bhishma. But then while he goes to the forest, he gets captivated by the daughter of, a fish, what do you call them? A fisherman. But the fisherman has this condition saying that, provided my son becomes the king, then only I will get my daughter married to you. Raja Santanu has actually fallen in love with this girl, but then he cannot leave Bhishma. Bhishma was a very elevated person, a very nice, well-behaved son. So he was in Asmanjas. He was in, we call it as dilemma as to what is to be done. And then Bhishma picks it up from him and says, what is your problem? You please let me know, I can help you. And Raja Santanu, when he talks about this, he says, I don't mind. I will take the commitment of being a celebrate all my life. I will never get married. So if I get married, only my son will become the rightful this one of the throne. So I don't want to get married. I will never get married, and I will continue to protect the whole kingdom. And that's how Raja Shantanu gets Dhritarashtra and Pandu and so on and so forth. So here it says, in Hindi there's a very nice saying, मोहित होने से पूरा परिवार नष्ट हो जाता है. The moha, which is the wantingness of something which is not nice. It is said that earth has enough for everybody's need, but not enough for one's greed. Yeah, you can make out the difference. Though it's an English proverb, it is very aptly said that if people have need, the earth, Mother Earth, can give everything. It has everything. You don't have to worry about it at all. But if one person is greedy, earth has nothing to give. So likewise, here we see the examples of the great devotees, or Santanu itself, Maharaj Santanu, saying that he became mohit, he became greedy for that lust, and that's where his whole kingdom was given away. Now, there are a couple of other things that while we discussed in the shloka, the 13th shloka is talking about Karda Muni's daughter Kala. Okay, let's look at the 12th. The 12th shloka talks about the 9 daughters Karda Muni, who were handed over to 9 different sages, and then from the next shloka, it starts talking about Karda Muni's daughter, Kala. Kala was married to Marichi. She gave birth to 2 children, whose names were Kashyapa. We've heard of Kashyapa Muni, and Purnima. Purnima was also another great descendant in the family. Their descendants are spread all over the world. So Kashyapa and Purnima's lineage is spread all over the world. And the next shloka talks about the 2 sons of Kashyapa and Purnima. Purnima begot 3 children, and they were named as Viraja, Viswaga, and Devakulya. And Devakulya, as we all know, was the water which washed the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and which later transformed into Ganges of the heavenly planet. So the 2 sons of Kashyapa, Purnima, here Purnima's descendants are described. An elaborate description of descendants will be given in 6th canto, is what Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport. So we will read more about Purnima and Kashyapa's descendants in the 6th canto. But here, Devakulya is the presiding deity of Mother Ganges, which actually comes down from the heavenly planet to this planet and is accepted to be sanctified because of its relation with the Lord of washing, the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari. It's a very rich lineage if we see from Maharaj Manu. All great devotees, all Vaishnavas and great acharyas which came in that parampara. So it is actually purifying for any devotee to hear about the great devotees. And as I said earlier, one should really avoid Vaishnava Aparadh, at the same time associate with devotees. So it's a very delicate situation when we say you have to associate with devotees. And when you associate with devotees, many times it happens that we take them for granted. And once we take them for granted, we start committing aparadha at their lotus feet. So one needs to balance it. One needs to maintain that distance from devotees. At the same time, we have to also share our heart with devotees. So we have to come up to that platform where we share the heart with the devotees and also take their instructions. So we will end our conversation here. We're already there. It's about 8:50. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I see wonderful Vaishnavas on who have joined online. We have Shantagonda Prabhu, Krishna Kishore Prabhu, and Radhakant Gaur Prabhu. We look forward to your comments if there are any, or corrections if any. Or if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Hare Krishna. So what I understand is there are no questions. If there are no questions, then we will end our session here. Thank you very much for joining. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer our humble obeisance to all the Vaishnavas who are like desiratory. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patita nam bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we will end the session here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji.